Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States, in which family and loved ones get together to give thanks for those moments for which they are grateful and celebrate over a big Thanksgiving meal. I also realize that many people go hungry each day and night. According to the World Food Program, the number of individuals around the world that are facing acute food insecurity has reached 345 million this year, up from 135 million in 2019, and is, quote, the largest in modern history, end quote. Over 40 countries, such as Ethiopia and Nigeria, are expected to fall into famine by the end of this year, according to the World Food Program and the Food and Agriculture Organization. The issue of food security or lack thereof was one of the key issues that emerged during this month's G20 summit, which I focus on as someone who has talked about international trade in agriculture and food insecurity in the Caribbean and sub-Saharan regions, as in my earlier TEDx talk. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarita Jackson, President and CEO of the Global Research Institute of International Trade. Welcome to another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2. Today's episode is titled G20, Multilateralism, and Food Insecurity. Here are two things that emerged from the November G20 summit to watch as it pertains to food and international trade. Number one, protectionism, which we see via export restrictions on food and fertilizers, which have increased and contributes to food insecurity. According to the World Trade Organization, the G20 economies accounted for 44% of the 52 total export restrictions on food, feed, and fertilizers put in place by members of the World Trade Organization or the WTO between May and October of 2022, all of which are in violation of WTO rules. The G20 Bali Leaders Declaration continued to acknowledge the challenges brought on by export restrictions and reiterates a commitment to, quote, keep food supply chains functioning under challenging circumstances, end quote, and quote, continue to closely monitor the state of global food security and nutrition, end quote. The full declaration can be accessed in the description below. And number two, the movement of grain from the top global grain exporters. With the Russian invasion of Ukraine earlier this year, the export of grain from Ukraine, as well as food and fertilizers from Russia, have been negatively affected, thus contributing to even higher food prices and the global food crisis. The G20 economies support the July 2022 Black Sea Grain Initiative, among other initiatives to allow for the safe transportation of grain and other foodstuffs from specific Ukrainian ports. The initiative was originally set to expire on November 17th, but was extended for another 120 days. These are our two things to watch as they pertain to agriculture, food insecurity or food security, and international trade. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2. Go ahead, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already.